Hi, this is Carter Wilson, best-selling author and writing coach, and welcome back to Motivations for Writers. You know, one of the questions I get asked more than anything else is, what advice would you give to aspiring writers? And, you know, that can be a tough one because there are so many pieces of advice, and I used to have a pretty automatic answer. I'd say, write every day, stick to a routine. Don't wait for inspiration, because if you're waiting for inspiration, you're not going to get much done. And honestly, all of that advice is true. It's good advice. But if I really stop and think about it, if I look back at my own career and all the things I wish I had done differently, there's one piece of advice I would have put above everything else, and that is have the courage to embody the mindset of a writer, even before you've published a single word. Because identity shapes everything, and I've learned over time that if you don't see yourself as a writer, you won't treat the work seriously. And if you don't treat the work seriously, no one else around you will. And of course, if no one else treats it seriously, including you, it'll never grow. This is what I want to talk to you about today. I mean, when I first started writing, I certainly didn't call myself a writer. I couldn't even imagine saying those words. If you'd met me at a dinner party back then and asked me what I did, I would have talked about my day job. You know, the one that pays the bills. I would have told you about my company or the projects I was working on. Writing, that was this little secret side thing, this hobby. For example, I like to work out, but if somebody asked me what I did, I wouldn't say I work out. And honestly, I was embarrassed by my writing. I didn't feel like I deserved to use the word writer. I thought, who am I to claim that? I don't have an agent. I don't have a book deal. I don't even know if my words are any good. So I kept it quiet. And because I kept it quiet, that's exactly how everyone else treated it. Family, friends, they thought of it as something quirky I did in my spare time. Something optional, disposable, aspirational, but something that will probably never amount to anything. And honestly, when life got busy, it was disposable. Writing was always the first thing to get sacrificed. You know, if work deadlines piled up, or the kids needed something, or there was a social event, the book could wait. I'm guessing to some of you out there, this might sound really familiar. And that's the danger of treating your writing like it's expendable. Because if you don't prioritize it, I can promise you, no one else will. And the shift for me didn't come from an external milestone. Not really. It certainly didn't happen when I got an agent. And it didn't happen when I sold my first book. I started to see a little bit more success. And finally, and when I say finally, I mean maybe 12 years after I started writing, I finally forced myself to say out loud, I am a writer. Not, I want to be a writer, not, I'm trying to be a writer, not, I'm working on this little project. Just simply, I am a writer. And I told that to a friend once, a friend who, she's an aspirational writer herself, and I told her I really didn't start telling people that I was a writer until after my third book was published. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And it really hit me that I should have been doing this much, much sooner. And after I finally started telling people, strangers, that I was a writer, everything shifted. I treated my writing differently. I protected my time more fiercely. I started saying no to things that pulled me away from it. I treated it as a job, and that let me walk into rooms with more confidence because I wasn't hiding that part of myself anymore. And just as important, people around me started to reflect that back. They asked me about my work. They respected my time. They began to see me as what I had already decided to be, which is a writer. So this is what I want you to take away. Identity comes before validation. And we spend so much time getting that backwards. We think, once I get published, then I'll be a writer. Once I land an agent, then I'll deserve the title. Once I hit a bestseller list, then people will take me seriously. But that's not how it works. You don't wait for external validation to embody who you already are. You claim that identity first. You step into it, you live it, and then, and only then, the results follow. Think about it this way. If you treat your writing like a hobby, you're going to get hobby-level results. If you treat it like your identity, it will shape your life. And that doesn't mean you have to quit your job or rearrange everything overnight. It means you make the mental shift. You stop apologizing for your writing. You stop hiding it. You stop waiting for permission. Because the truth is, no one is going to give you that permission. Only you can give it to yourself. So let's turn the spotlight on you for a moment. When did you first feel the spark to write? Can you remember that moment? Maybe you were a kid scribbling in a notebook, or maybe it was later in life when something inspired you and you just had to put words on a page. Think about that memory and hold it in your mind for a moment. And now ask yourself, have I had the courage to call myself a writer? If you have, how has that shaped the way you approach your work? And if you haven't, what's holding you back? Is it fear or doubt? Or maybe the belief that you're not legit enough until someone tells you so? And maybe this is the more important question. What would change if you claimed that identity right now? What would shift in the way you treat your time, your priorities, and your confidence? So let's get practical. What does it actually look like to embody the mindset of a writer? Well, first of all, you protect your time because writers write. And that doesn't mean you have to crank out 2,000 words a day. I've been writing for over 20 years, and I write 1 hour a day. Very rarely do I write more than an hour a day. You don't have to write a lot, but you have to carve out consistent, sacred space to write. And you have to have a consistent practice of doing it. So if people are trying to schedule a meeting during your writing time, you say, "Sorry, I have work to do." Because you do. Second thing is you talk about it. You don't hide your writing. Don't downplay it. If someone asks you what you do, include it in your answer. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain whether you're published yet. Just say it. I'm a writer. I know, it's scary, but try it. Third thing, you need to build confidence from the inside out. Stop waiting for an agent or an editor or a publisher to hand you the title. You're not a pre-writer. You're not aspiring. If you're writing consistently, you're a writer. Period. And finally, the fourth thing, let it ripple outward. When you embody the mindset, others are going to notice. They will take your writing more seriously. They'll respect your boundaries, and that respect feeds back into your confidence, which fuels more writing. So here's my challenge for you. Sometime today, I want you to say the words out loud. I am a writer. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Say it to your partner or to a friend. Say it to a stranger if the opportunity comes up. But just say it. And then after you've said it, notice what happens in your body. Notice the resistance, the pride, the fear. Whatever you feel, it's okay. But don't take it back. Because the more you say it, the more it will become true. And once you've said it, start acting like it. Protect your writing time. Show up for the page. Don't apologize. Don't hide. Live into the identity you've already claimed. So back to the original question, what advice would you give to aspiring writers? And I want you to picture yourself on stage in conversation with another author, and you're being interviewed in front of hundreds of readers who love your books. And some of those readers out there in that audience are also writers. And they can't imagine what it must be like sitting in that chair that you're sitting in. They can't picture themselves ever getting to that level, just as one day you were that person. And you get that hand that goes up in the audience, the person who is a little shy but put themselves out there in order to stand and ask you, their favorite author, a question. And they ask you, what advice would you give to aspiring writers? And you tell them, embody the mindset of a writer. even before you've published a single word. And you'll explain to that person, when you do that, everything else starts to shift. Your confidence grows. Your discipline strengthens. Your boundaries become clearer. And slowly but surely, the results will follow. So before we wrap up today, I want you to say it with me one more time, out loud. I am a writer. And now, go act like one.